I'd like to welcome everybody and ask everyone to please either silence or turn off their cell phones, and then join us in the pledge, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Denise, you want to go over any changes we might have?
Sure, we have 2 additions.
Okay.
Actually, we have 3 additions. The Oregon Board of Parole IGA for Director Dave Britt, Public Health OHA IGA for Beth Hadley, and we're going to have a fire briefing this morning.
Okay, great.
Fire briefing.
Okay, our first item is a timed item. It's our public hearing on our 2017-18 Lake County budget. We're going to open that hearing at this time and ask Ann to please come up. Morning, Ann.
Good morning. So this hearing that we've scheduled is published in the newspaper to show the summary of our budget meetings with our budget committee that we concluded on May 4th. So in your packet should be the actual copy of the publication. It summarizes our budget with revenues and expenses and then by organizational function. So at this point in time, we just open it up so that public can make comment. The next steps for our budget process are June 20th, we'll talk about any changes before we adopt, and then adoption will be June 21st.
And we'll have another public hearing on this tomorrow open for Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. We'll leave the hearing open for the remainder of the meeting today. And at this time, we'll ask our agency partners here in the county to please give us an update on our upcoming fire season.
Well, Commissioners, I think what we'll do is we'll start off with Clint Albertson, our fire planner. He'll give you a brief summary of kind of what is looking out for the season outlook for the season.
So this is where Clint gets the black box and tells us the magic numbers in it.
Several chickens were involved.
Okay. Thank you. How you doing this morning, Clint? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for your time this morning. So, if you guys have sharp memories, which I trust that you do, this is going to look pretty similar in presentation to last year. Try to not change things up too much. But on this first page at the top it says Summit, and that is the name of the remote automatic weather station that's closest to Lakeview that we use for our interagency fire purposes. And the graph is a representation of energy release component, which is one of our major fire danger indices that we use. And the green line is this year to right up till yesterday compared to average, which is the black line, and then a couple of previous indicator years, last year and then 2012, which was a pretty significant year for us. So, as you might expect, things are a little bit below average as far as fire danger and what it's indicating. We've had a great winter. Again, not telling you guys anything that you don't know. But as we get into this, we'll see a few things. So we just started off with fire season starting yesterday, and we started out at a moderate. And to kind of get you up to speed on that and how the world works is, as far as an actual calculated moderate, we're not quite there. But, you know, we try to be nice and easy and consistent for the public and what have you. We know that within a few days of some heating that we'll be at a moderate. So we put a little bit of, you know, forecasting into things and not be yarding people up and down. Yes?
Clint, I know you watch the weather daily. How long is this next cold front supposed to actually hang around?
The main part of it is coming in Wednesday night, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is going to be kind of the main event. Anticipating up to an inch of rain throughout that period. And it's going to stay a little bit cool and unsettled for the following week. So we're going to be probably right at, if you will, below average following that couple of days where we're going to be way below average.
So our moderate might hold off, our true moderate
Yeah.
might hold off for
Yeah.
another couple of weeks.
Yeah. Yep, great question, and that's exactly right.
Do you have any way of knowing on all of our protected lands, because this is what this is about, is the, the fire potential? What percent might have snow on them still?
Just as a rough, on all protected lands, we could be something like 5%. I bet it's the highest elevations. Again, just kind of taken close by as representative, the north corners, the road just opened up in the last week or two before you get through, and we still have snow on north face of the higher elevations.
Okay, thanks.
So, all right, so with that said, I got you on the next 2 pages, if you look at those side by side. The left-hand side is this year, and just as a comparison, the right-hand side is last year. Just so that we could see. So what we have at the top is current conditions now, and then on the right-hand side is then, and then forecasted. And so as from a drought standpoint, we're looking good presently and not anticipating issues. With that said, we are seeing via prescribed burning, what have you, that we in fact are still seeing the effects of drought. Larger logs out there, 10,000s we call them, are in fact consuming, and that's an artifact of that drought that we've had. So, officially we're out, but we're still seeing the effects. And we've had some mortality in some timber out there, and there's some other factors with it, but overriding the drought was probably the most significant environmental factor to that. And so, we're still going to be left with some drought-killed trees and vegetation. So anyhow, we're out of the drought, but from a fire standpoint, certainly we're still left to deal with that, and hopefully we can get us another good winter and continue to try to put that behind us. So on the next page, you'll see at the top quite a bit of green. It says significant wildland fire potential outlook. This is a national product. It's put together by each one of the regions is contributing information to this. So for June, as again we might expect, we're just at average. We're not under. We're not thinking that it's not going to have any potential at all, but just kind of right along average. And then it's the same for the August and September outlook, which is kind of the heart of our fire season. They're talking about just calling it right at average, but you do see that red quite conspicuously right below us. And so here's where it's worth mentioning. So I talked about our heaviest fuels, and then the other end of the spectrum is our very lightest fuels. If you guys may have noticed, our cheatgrass has already started turning, and somewhat early this year. And what that is attributable to is we had a pretty good cold snap. And I think that timed just right with that crop that was coming up. So it's not quite as high as it's been, or could potentially have been. And then, like I said, started to cure sooner. So, at the upper elevations where we still have snow, at the lower elevations, we'll expect to have some fire. And we'll have those flying fuels to drive that. And, you hear, is this going to be a desert year? Well, I don't know. But, we've got some things there that have the potential to cause us some problems out on the desert. So, something to kind of think about. It got lots of moisture to give us a grass crop, and then we've got these annual grasses that are going to be a nice fine fuel going forward. So then to give you the weather, we've got a 3-month outlook, and for whatever that's worth, if you guys want to bet your nickel on it, It says above average temps and average on the preset. So suggesting a nice warm Lakeview summer. That's what I have for you guys. Do you have any questions or thoughts?
No, I think your point about the fuel conditions is well taken with some of the most recent fire activity kind of in this general region. So we're in the fire season, things will burn.
Yep.
And we'll hope for the best and really appreciate all of it.
With the moderate conditions, so you're going to extend and get caught up on some prescribed burn?
Are we good? Barry is going to speak to that fantastic question. With that, I'll take my leave.
Thanks, Clint.
Well, again, thanks for having us here today. Speaking of prescribed fire, we're starting to wrap up our prescribed fire season. If we could back up just a little bit to last fall, again, we had a hot, dry summer, like it showed there in the papers. We had a very short window for fall burning. We went from hot and dry to wet pretty fast, and so it didn't allow for us to get a whole lot done in the fall without, not meeting the right prescriptions and whatnot. So then we came into this spring. Well, through the winter we did a lot of pile burning. We accomplished a lot of that, but then this spring, again, pretty wet spring, pretty cool spring. We've got a fair amount accomplished over by the Y Ranger District and whatnot over on the Klamath County side, but opportunities have been a little bit tough to come by here on the Lake County side, whether it's been smoke wanting to come towards Lakeview or Klamath Falls, or just trying to go after a little bit tougher acres. It's been a bit of a challenge. So I don't know if you've noticed or not, but we have been burning right behind the community of Schmolt over in Klamath County, right behind Pilot, so to speak, on the west side of the highway there. And that's an ongoing project that we got funded for, so we're pretty proud of that. We did have to shut down yesterday though, as our H's were below 20%, pretty even lower today. So we're going to call it good for that. We are starting a prescribed burn over our Klamath Ranger District today, which is going to be on 140 west towards Medford. It's just under 50 acres, and it's near that Odessa area, if you happen to be familiar with that. So we've had some prescribed burns there in the past, and this gives Klamath Ranger District an opportunity to do a little treatment there around a high recreation place. So, on the BLM side, we have had some pile burning, not nearly what we've done in the past though. With the high snow levels this winter, didn't allow for the pile burning to happen nearly as much as we had planned.
Is that mostly cut juniper?
Cut juniper and piled, yes. So we weren't able to get out there because our piles were covered with snow, and it was hard to get to them. So anyway, we'll take a look at that again in the fall and see where that comes out. But we're continuing to do fuel treatments as we speak, and we'll keep moving forward on that front. So our desert east of us here looks beautiful, and it's really neat to see big open country again. Antelope scattered throughout, green grass, so it's really pretty neat. So moving forward into fire season here, again, we have the same resources that we've had in the past. Here amongst Skafunk with the 5 agencies, we have 48 engines, and that is our strength. We have roads and we have engines, so that's what we try to take advantage of. The one thing that is setting us back a little bit this year is we're lacking 4 engine captains on the BLM side. As you may recall, or may not know about, the Forest Service upgraded their engine captains from GS7s to GS8s throughout Oregon and Washington, and that kind of emptied the market, so to speak, for captains. And so we're trying to recruit into Lakeview. We're looking at some different options right now, but we're lacking 4 captains. We can fill those with detailers. We can also bring extra resources into our area if need be, but that's the one weak spot that we have right now.
Is housing an issue of recruiting?
It is for folks from out of town because we have limited government housing. And we do have the bunkhouses over there by our dispatch center that, to my knowledge and what I've heard, we are completely full. We've got those things completely full this winter. So it is some.
Can we go back to the upgrades on the engine captains? Or
Yeah.
is there any discussion on doing that kind of across the interagency board?
BLM, looking at it nationally, they just decided not to do it nationally. And one of the reasons is because a lot of the other states aren't affected by this. The Forest Service, because in Oregon and Washington, we're just affected here locally. If you recall several years ago when California chose to have their folks go to GSAs, the BLM chose to also then bump up right after that. We're in probably one of those situations where Oregon and Washington will have to go and do that as well. But we have lost support nationally as far as being able to take that on. So.
Okay.
But with that being said, I think on the Forest Service side, a lot of those other regions are going to follow suit here soon. So the BLM is actively working to try to come up with an option here for Oregon.
Okay.
Adding on to our resources this year, we have our Type 2 helicopter that, again, back here in Lakeview. It's going to have 18 personnel this year. So we're definitely fully staffed on that helicopter, and they do great work, and we're really excited to have those folks on. We also will have a seaplane on here in Lakeview starting on Monday next week. We have our air attack platform sitting in Clown Falls, just started this Monday, and so those are all good aviation assets that we depend on. Crew-wise, we have, of course, Wainema Hotshots over in Klamath. We also have our veteran crew, Crew 7, the BLM crew over in Klamath Falls. They're working towards Type 1 status again this year, and we hope that we're on a good path to see that through. So those folks do work, in either camp. So, and they're also in South and Texas and North Carolina and Georgia, all over the place. So very proud of them. We have the tanker base at Klamath Falls, and one thing that I will bring up about the tanker base is we've been informed by the regional office that they would like to do a review of the Medford and Klamath Falls tanker bases due to their proximity, closeness to each other, due to air tankers now being able to fly faster than newer models. You're only 17 minutes from Klamath to Medford, one way, so.
So we'll be covering Medford here in the future then? Out of Klamath?
Well, we'll have to see how that shakes out.
Yeah.
But we'll definitely be having those discussions this summer, and we'll keep you informed on how that's moving.
Please do.
What would be some of the criteria that they would be looking at in deciding that would?
There's multiple criteria. One of the things is the Forest Service is holding a lot of the fixed costs on all these air tanker bases. And Medford has been supported in the past by Oregon Department of Forestry pretty heavily. Medford is also certified for the very large air tankers. Klamath certainly has the runway for it, but their parking area and the reload area is not qualified for that weight. So that is a factor. One other thing is, you remember the Klamath Airport there is owned by the city. But right now, our lease agreement is the highest in Oregon and Washington. And we're paying about $120,000+ a year there. And the next highest one is at Moses Lake, around $40,000 a year. So we'll have to figure out what's going on there. And again, that is something that's negotiated outside of our area and we use comparable areas. It also has to do with our footprint there in Klamath at the airport. We have several acres similar to the one in Lakeview. And so, there's a lot of factors involved there. So we, hopefully, the community of Klamath will work with us a little bit. Obviously, another resource that uses Klamath tanker base is Northern California. So when they're not using Reading, they chose not to upgrade their Montague tanker base and utilize Klamath and Bedford when they need to, depending on their fire's at. So we hope to incorporate that into the discussion as well. I do know that when we had a fire over on Steens Mountain, the reload was going to Klamath Falls. So it just shows you the need for use is still Klamath in that area. So, yeah.
Does the sage grouse has a play in the criteria?
We'll certainly keep that discussion as a factor. Again, retardant is a great tool in the desert because you can get low and you can cover a lot of area and it really slows down. So it is a great tool. Again, it gets back to timing. Can you get to Redmond? Can you get to, how far is it to Redmond? How far is it to Klamath? Even, get further east, you might even consider Boise. So, anyway. I know on the Berry Point fire, when we took the very large air tanker, our tanker came from Boise. It doesn't take very long for me to get a big fire. So, which seems like a long ways away, but it really isn't. Other resources, we have a hand crew in Bly. We also have a 10-person hand crew in Lakeview, over 10-person hand crews. We're a little bit shorthanded on some of our leadership. We've had some turnover. We've got a new FMO in Chiloquin. Barry Hansen out of Lakeview Ranger District is in the details, and we've promoted Cole Snyder, who's going to be running the Lakeview fire crews out there, and Mitch Wilson, who is going to Chiloquin. We're trying to refill the right down up at Silver Lake. On the BLM side, we've got all of our fire leadership there. We should be in good shape for what we can announce right now. Fish and wildlife wise, I'll let John, if you'd like to take that.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Take a moment. We're pretty much like we have been in prior years with our two engines. We've had a similar problem filling engine loss. Well, our two assistant engine losses are vacant. We tried to compete those and didn't get applicants, one that withdrew. We're looking at our options too for that in our regional office with our fire folks and where we might go with that. We may go a different route and try to have our captains filled. So we may try to make our two more training slot with senior firefighters and try to gradually get them a higher 6, but those are 5-6 positions. So it's the second year for us with our agreement with BLM, integrating our fire crew with them supervising our engines. Last year worked really well. A couple minor communication problems, just normal transition kind of thing. But operationally, I thought we did really well, and I think it's a really good move to the way we've integrated what we're doing. So, and lastly, I would just say we continue our Resilient Lands Cooperative here with all the agencies, and continuing treatments on Hart Mountain and Sheldon, looking at juniper primarily and follow-ups with burning and seeding and those kind of things. But the Resilient Lands Program was proposed to be zeroed out in the president's budget, so that's one item. We don't know where that's going to go. So that's pretty much where we are. The only other thing I would add is Jeff Mackey, the manager at Hart Mountain, moved on to Mount Here Refuge as the deputy project leader, so that position's vacant currently.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't either, so.
Not really fire related, but correct.
Good.
Yeah.
Motion for him, I assume.
Yeah, no, it was.
Did them out here?
And Jeff was here for 6 years and doing well. Pretty much it for me.
Very
Any
good.
questions?
Could you introduce this young lady? I've met her before.
Yes, I'd like to introduce Sarah Sarlos. We've hired a fire information officer to work under fire this year, and I'll let let Sarah tell a little bit about herself,
Okay.
and a little bit about.
Yeah, come on up, Sarah.
Okay.
We've got a minute or two here, so.
Well, thanks for having me. So I am the Interagency Fire Information Officer. So what that means is under South Central Oregon Fire Management Partnership, or what we like to call SCFUM, I will be doing the fire information portion of that partnership. We have a really unique program, which you all know, and I'm getting to know, of how these 5 agencies work in that interagency cooperation. And what I've heard is it's been happening since the 80s. And now it's getting that idea of interagency working together seems to be now a national sort of where we're going. So what I'm excited about is being able to highlight the good work that's happening here at SCFUM, and with that, being able to use all the tools in the toolbox to inform the public that lives in this area, what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it. So that goes from what we're doing in prescribed fire and how we're doing it, and explaining in words, and photos, and videos, how we're doing the prescribed fire, where we're doing the prescribed fire, and then moving where we're kind of into that transition right now into fire season, to be able to use, again, all the tools in the toolbox to be able to get that messaging out. And so that's my primary objective for this summer. I feel like we have been able to get the prescribed fire information out there, and so I'm looking to use that audience that we already are starting to get their attention, to be able to get them information when we do start getting lightning fires and things like that. And then also kind of weaving in some prevention messaging, because that's, like Clint was mentioning, we are, even though, and that's a big message that I think that we can get out. Yes, we had a cooler, wet winter, but there's still gonna be human starts. And so there's nothing that we can do with the lightning, right? The lightning's gonna come, what I've heard, and actually in the BLM National Fire Review that's happening right now, we get more lightning in this area than all of Oregon and Washington. So there's nothing we can do with that, right? We're going to have a lot of lightning. But what we can do is have the public help us be able to reduce those human-caused fires. So that prevention message is something that I'm also going to be working on within the 5 agencies. Does anyone have any questions?
Well, back on the subject of prescribed burning, I'm on the ODF DEQ Smoke Management Review Committee, and one of the biggest things I emphasize is just education, information, because we always telling the public not to burn the wood stove, winter time, and then first night, spring day, they're smoking the air from prescribed burning, which is needed, to try burning. But it's an education from to the public. It benefits, and periodically, like last Wednesday, we had a little wind chill.
Yeah.
But that happens, but it's communication.
I would completely agree with you, and that education, one, is to the public, and then also internally as well. So our internal audience within the 5 agencies and within local government, within state government, to, like you said, have that education and understand the decision process, and where that no-go, no-go piece plays. Gary brought up the Schmaltz prescribed fire, and we were good to go yesterday morning. I put it on Facebook and all of our social media and on the website that we were going to burn for the next 2 to 3 days, right? We were going to go. We're going to finish this project up. They got a call from the National Weather Service that said, hey, we don't got the weather window is now shut. So instead of being mission driven and nope, we got to get this project done, we made that change. And then so I went into all of our things online and tried to explain how that decision-making process happened. And I think that's part of the education and where we're getting the information to be able to make those decisions, so. But any help or feedback, or, you know, this is kind of new territory in a way, and I am all ears to hear how we can get the messaging and education to the public when it comes to fire information, and then some of how that decision-making process happens.
So are you set up where you can receive feedback on the publications you put out there?
Yes.
Are you getting quite a bit of interest where people, you know, like you say, it's sort of reaching out in a new way? Is it working?
It has been working,
Good.
and I think just culturally, we're starting to see how people are understanding how bringing fire into the landscape is then going to help build it's a return on investment, right? You maybe have to deal with a little bit of discomfort when it comes to smoke, but then the long-term investment, you're making a more resilient community. And I think that message is happening regionally and even nationally. And then locally, to answer your question, yes, I've been posting a lot, and I just get a lot of likes, and to talk a little bit of social media, people are very positive about it, and
Sarah, could you give that example of fire on Saturday?
So, yeah, that's a really good example. So the prescribed fire gets attention, but not a lot of attention. But then there's a 2-acre fire, an actual, like a human start fire that happened. And so it went out as a wildfire notice. And on our Facebook page, where normally a post, I get 500 to 1,000 people checking it out. We had over 6,000. We had 30 people share it, either on their own personal page, or a hunting association page, or a government page. And it got a lot of people liking that page as the official place to get fire information. There was an older lady, an elder, that lived out kind of close to that fire. She smelled the smoke on her porch. She was able to send me a Facebook message, so something that's not right there on the page, but kind of more like an email. And I was able to get to her. It's just like answering a phone call and letting her know what was happening, what resources were going. It's not growing and coming towards her, and being able to, at the end of the day, relieve that fear, right? Knowledge, getting that information to her, then calms her down and gets that stress level down. And that, to me, every day, that's my goal.
Very good. Sounds like it's going to be very good.
I appreciate your emphasis on social media. That's where the mass majority of the populace is coming out.
And I think another hidden success there was, and I'm not sure if it's still true to at this day, but we had 0 phone calls to our dispatch center.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's great.
So that's another byproduct, if you will, because then they can focus on managing the resources, that communication piece, right, with operations.
If you had 6,000 hit yours, that means it went out to 60,000 as they sent it out to all their friends.
Yeah, you're correct.
I mean, you have no way of knowing what really went out there, so that's interesting, very nice.
So the dinosaur in the bunch, I'm not a social media guru, so I'll give you my phone number.
And so that's a good point. We've also set up a website, so you don't have to, you can still get stuff online and on your phone without being a member of Twitter or Facebook. I wanted to make sure that that was there. And then, say hypothetically, we have a larger incident. I believe in my communication strategy that I've used within this region and other places in the nation is, I call it the high-tech, low-tech. So everything that we have online, social media, websites, NCWeb, that same information then will go on signboards, postings, the post office. We'll have community meetings. You'll hear other information on the radio. So I don't like to be online heavy and not have that low tech. Not calling it low tech.
It's not local, it's no-
It is what it is.
So that's a strategy that you'll see if we, hopefully we don't, but if we had an involving incident, that was, you would see those methods.
So, we are running out of time, that's unfortunate, I wish we had much more time, but just a quick comment to finish. You talked about resilient landscapes there, and I'm hoping that you're pretty well locked into all the principles around the cohesive strategy, and that's a lot of the messaging, because we're working really hard here in Oregon in particular, but nationally on getting that message out
I agree with
on
you.
the cohesive strategy.
That is information that I will be sharing, just not in the summertime.
Yeah.
So one other really quick thing on the social media and just the media. Don't be afraid to talk to our fair board manager out there with our new sign to be able to post things on that. Ronnie Lindsay, and it's a great place to be able to post things that people drive by every day.
That's great. Thank you for that.
Yeah, touch base with her, use it as a tool, please.
Okay.
And on the education part to the general public, that's where the agency on the resilience. Fire needs to be identified as an ecological part of the system because it rejuvenates things. But that's, would get to the urban folks who doesn't understand. But
I hear you.
nature has a place for it.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Commissioners, I know we're running short on time. I'd be remiss to not mention to you though, on the Forest Service side this year, we are looking at potentially trying to use fire when it is available, if it's in the right place, the right time, with the right resources available. So we're looking at opportunities instead of digging a hand line from here to the, where the door is, where you try to utilize some roads, some natural barriers, skyrock flats, things like that. We're calling this a modified suppression strategy. We have Sarah to kind of help us share that message. It's a tool in our toolbox that we've always had in fire, and we can use it for safety reasons or things like that. We haven't really got to share that with the public of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And we want to bring that out and make that a little bit more vocal this year. And that's a strategy that we're trying to implement here on the forest. Obviously, all those R's need to line up, and we won't do it if it doesn't make sense, or if our neighbors are fighting large fires, things like that. But it's something that we're much more conscious of, and we've sent some folks down to Arizona last summer. Got to be part of the other forests who do that quite often. They're on a whole other level down there, but we want to start off very small this year and potentially take advantage of any opportunity we get.
I hope, Barry, and we've talked about that many times, I hope that we're able to have a lot of photos of good examples as you actually implement that strategy. Because, that helps when people, it's one thing to come back to the community and say it's doing great. It's for them to be able to see what it's doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can share that message.
Yes.
Not unless you have a question.
If we're good to go.
All right. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thanks for all that you all do.
Thanks, Denise.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Denise.
sorry for
Thank
the
you.
mass confusion.
No, thank you.
Next time I'll look a little closer. Sorry.
See you later. Okay, our next item, 9:30 timed item,
Did you fly in?
Lakeview Partnership fund request. Well, right, please join us, Will, Main Street Coordinator.
Hello, thank you.
You bet.
So speaking of the successful cooperation with the interagency, the Lakeview Community Partnership is beginning to look at that for a countywide cooperation between the community and economic development groups. So we've been in conversation with Interport in Paisley, WeCan up in Christmas Valley, and we're just, again, early stages, but we're looking at how can those organizations work together to strengthen their individual projects as well as looking at group projects. And so we're requesting some funding for our next rare, to take a look at that in more depth and really explore that as an option, looking at those potential places where we can co-write grants to support different, whether it's supporting those individual projects or we see something that's a little bit bigger, but also looking at those potential conflicts, whether it's a scheduling conflict of big events in different communities that often share similar audiences, looking at all of that, and then coming up with some recommendations by the end of the year to really move this forward, both in terms of information sharing and looking at those cooperative opportunities.
Do you want to go back to the RARE and kind of describe what the RARE is?
Yes, okay, so the RARE, it's an acronym which stands for Resource Assistance for Rural Economies. It's a program out of University of Oregon that brings technical assistance, usually recent grads, to do economic and community development work in communities that request it. And so LCP, I'm actually a rare for LCP. So we're looking at bringing in another rare in for next year to do a lot of work in Lakeview. And then this particular project would be about 10% of their time to focus on that broadening that scope of the work that they do.
And I'll expand a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong. The rail student is kind of like the central focus person, because like on LCP, you got other people working, but you don't have one person who can focus on getting work done with a larger group.
Yeah.
That's what.
So the way that LCP uses the RARE currently, we're an all-volunteer organization except for the RARE. So they do a lot of that coordination work and making, kind of that overhead stuff that is hard to get people to really want to focus on. So I spend a lot of my days planning things out and writing grants and that kind of thing as well. So, yeah.
So this request, I see $2,500.
Yes,
That would be for next year's
RARE.
rare school.
So it would be about 10% of their time. And so that would cover the amount of time that they spend on the project. LCP would be supporting them through travel expenses and the mentoring and administrative support as well.
And if that next year, if you get that rare, that would start in July,
They would start in September,
and then
go around through July. So it's the first, second week of September is when they start. I started September 12th, and then it goes through July 30th, or 31st.
So Will, the LCP is newly formed and it's just become a nonprofit, if I'm not mistaken, here not too long ago.
2015, yeah.
Just for our education and everything, what's the makeup? Is it a 5-board member or what's the governing board?
So we are currently at 6 members on our board, and we're actively recruiting. Our bylaws allow us between 7 to 9, and we're shooting for the 9 at this point. So we're actively recruiting more members at this point.
Yeah, and so this was started as the Lakeview Community Partnership, and your board's wanting to branch out and reach out further outside of the Lakeview community, into the county, Christmas Valley, and everything is what this is based on.
So our mission is still focused on downtown Lakeview, but we recognize that by working with these other groups, it benefits our mission as well. And so we're looking at that as a way of strengthening our organization while, also being able to show support for the rest of the county.
basically take on the downtown revitalization, taking what the group has learned and sharing it with Paisley, Silver Lake, Christmas Valley, etc.
That's definitely part of it, but also, one of the reasons that we're doing this is that by working with them, we are more competitive for, especially kind of the national level grants. And so we can find those projects where we've got something in downtown Lakeview that we want to do, but it works with something that's happening in Paisley or Christmas Valley or in Dell. And so we can work together to make all of our projects more
Viable.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Okay, so in the letter here, it says that you're looking for minimum 2-year, maybe for the partnership, the funding organizers to continue to pay. So who's all going to contribute to this for our student, besides if the county decided who would be the organizational partners that's mentioned in your thing?
So for this year, the funding for this particular project would be the county and LCP. What we're looking at is proving the value to some of these other organizations. They're willing to work with us, but they have very low capacity, especially on the financial side. So we're looking at showcasing that value and helping to boost their capacity this year, and capacity building can take a while. So we're looking at 2 years of them being kind of in that pilot stage where they may be able to contribute something, but we're not really asking them to. And then in that 3rd year, if we've proven the value of this, then they would need to step up and share the load a little bit more, is what we're looking at currently.
Might give a little history about the rail program in Lake County and maybe County also. Because we've had rail students with LCRI, with the hospital and the schools, and with LCP. It's not just one organization,
It's not just one organization. I honestly don't know the full history of RARE in Lake County. I know you had 2 RAREs here last year. One was working with the Oregon Food Bank, but in coordination with the hospital and doing a food analysis. So just looking at accessibility of food, nutritional foods and things like that. The other one was working with LCRI. And I actually don't know a whole lot of what she was doing. I remember some education around renewable energy, but I don't know the specifics on that. And beyond last year, I actually don't know much of the history here.
You wasn't here.
I wasn't here. But I do know in Klamath Falls this year, they have a RARE that is doing something similar with something similar to the proposal that we're making here, working with 5 different communities to to coordinate their economic development and community development projects. And she works, that's her full-time job. So we're just looking at a small side of all of that, but she's been very successful with that. The communities have come together and started their own website where they share resources across all the communities, grant opportunities, different educational pieces, all of that. So there are some successful projects that we can build off of and connect to over there as well.
I think we're good. We've got it on the agenda tomorrow for consideration, so.
Thank you.
You betcha. Thanks, Bob. Okay, we've had Chip Nancy and Jim Malay join us, but we've got them on a can and we're not sure how many folks are we've invited the number of folks.
Well, I have a feeling there'll be folks from the school district and maybe from the
Yeah,
ILC will be here at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, we'll stay with her. I just wanted to preload. We won't call you right now.
Okay.
We'll wait till 10 o'clock.
That's great.
Arrive, so.
Denise has a couple items, we just fill in with her, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like.
That's all right.
Or if you had a different thought, that's fine.
First instead of last, so it's nice. Okay, so what I have 2 items, both transit related. The first one is our federal funding agreement for 5310 funds for the upcoming biennium. We're scheduled to get not exceeding $124,681. That does need to be approved. And then my other item, during the time that we did the transportation system update, ODOT also authorized us to have our transit program plan also redone, so that we have ability to receive additional funding hopefully in the future on other grants for our transit program. I was unaware at the time that this needed to be approved separately from our other plan, so it does require approval as well. You might remember in that TSP, it refers to our transit plan quite frequently. That's it. That's all I got.
You're supposed to take up 10 minutes of time.
I know, I'm sorry I talked too fast. I could go over Beth's items, because she's not
Yeah,
able
let's
to join us
do
this
that
week.
then.
She's away at training, so, she had 2 items. The first one is gonna be the addition. It's the OHA agreement. It's approximately an increase of $12,000 for her, public health division, environmental health services program. So that's her first one. And the other one. It's her actual contract with the state for the upcoming biennium, for $164,179 for the public health program for Lake County. There were no changes really noted by the state, so, and both have been reviewed by the full council.
Once again, you were too quick.
Gosh. I am a fast talker.
Did we scratch the one?
Conflict waiver application.
Well, Denise, maybe
Oh, yeah,
before
we
you
can
go
do
there
that.
on Beth's side of things, did we take that off the Oregon Health Insurance?
Oh, no, we didn't. She
Okay.
also has the grant.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's a renewal of last year's grant.
Correct, for $100,000. It's for Oregon Health Plan administering.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that conflict waiver application, is that where you were going?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
We can always take a 5-minute break if you can pull us back together on.
So the conflict waiver ratification, maybe Commissioner Leonard wants to speak to it.
Oh, now, yeah. As everybody knows, we, previous meeting, made an agreement with John Hefner to represent us legal on STB filings. This came through, the council advised me to go ahead and sign it and have it ratified in the meeting. So just by consensus, you guys acknowledging this would be fine. Be in our minutes and in our record.
Okay, we did, I'm fine with doing it today, we need to take it off for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's,
Just for the audience on the camera, the subject matter is the railroad.
yeah.
Okay, well, we will go ahead and just recess for a quick 5 minutes. Let's please try and get back in at 10. We do have a lot of things, and we've got guests from this fall with us, Climate Fall, so just a quick 5
Need to
minutes.
fly over?